Pastor Wilson, could you give us your thoughts on the Manhattan Declaration?
Yes. When I first some background, Charles Colson, who was one of the principal drafters of it, and Robert George, who also worked on it. Charles Colson spoke for us at our ACCS conference last year, and I appreciate much of what he has done. And Robert George was just out here a few weeks ago at New St. Andrews, and he was our commencement speaker and did a fantastic job. He's a wonderful gentleman. I really enjoyed getting to meet him. So as I explained in my blog, the Manhattan Declaration is the kind of thing that I could not sign, but I applaud. Right? So I've got some, in the evangelical world, in the Reformed evangelical world, there were people like Alistair Begg and John MacArthur who didn't sign it, and people like Al Mohler who did. I understand Muller's willingness to sign it, what it says. The Declaration itself is, I think, a fine statement of where we want to draw certain boundaries in our culture war battles. I think it's the right to life is a fundamental issue, for example. And at the same time, the gospel and preserving and protecting a reformed evangelical articulation of the gospel is also very important. So I think we have to, what we're sorting out here is how to function in culture wars and in evangelical gospel proclamation with the distinction of allies and co-belligerents in mind. So for example, in the Second World War, England and the United States were allies. We were fighting Nazi Germany. We had the same enemy, and we were fighting them for similar reasons. We were allies. The Soviet Union was also fighting Nazi Germany, but they were just co-belligerents, which means that they happened to be fighting on the same side for completely different reasons. The Soviets were fighting the Nazis because the Nazis double-crossed them. They had been their allies early in the war, and then Hitler double-crossed them. So co-belligerents and allies are not the same thing. That's a common problem here in Idaho, where you'll have real staunch conservative people running for political office who are Mormon. They're LDS. Well, are they allies? If you've got a conservative evangelical Reformed Christian, is that person an ally? No, he's not an ally. But as it happens, he's a co-belligerent. You know, he would vote to protect the lives of the unborn, for example. So he's pushing in the same direction you are, but not for the same reasons. And what I want to argue for is that the critics of the Manhattan Declaration from its right, R.C. Sproul and others like that, I think are right to want to be they're right to be protective of the gospel. We need to keep that clear and not muddle that. And there's a difference between Protestant and Catholic articulations of the gospel. At the same time, I believe that we can enter into co-belligerent work with Roman Catholics, many of whom have done a fine job on some of these cultural issues, and it's just a difficult thing. It's a weird place to be in, but that's okay because we live in weird times.